All right, welcome everyone. Today is a very special episode because we're going to talk with the Elite Sporting Club founders. All of us are here today from all over the world actually, and also across continents. Onuche is joining from Canada at the moment, and the rest of us in Europe, but still different countries. I think, Matteo, you are in Italy right now?
Yeah, I'm based in Italy now.
So
moved back.
And Arlind and I, we are out of Copenhagen at the moment, both of us.
Still stuck here, unfortunately, but yes.
Yes. So today we wanted to just have an informal conversation and bring up this very interesting story about the genesis of Elite Sporting Club. Because I think it will be very interesting for the followers and our listeners, but also in general for us to remind it and to bring it to life again. It has been almost 5 years ago since we started Elite Sporting Club. A lot of things have happened since, but also the start of it was another story and a nice journey to begin with. So that's what we want to talk about today. Of course, this is more special for you guys since you Albania was not really a country you knew about, let alone invest in there. But I think it will be interesting to get your perspectives and also the story about it. You also visited Albania for the first time due to Elite Sporting Club, so maybe we want to hear a bit also about that. What were your impressions and so on. So. But maybe we should go just the very start. So it started in Munich, where Matteo was temporarily located back then, and Arlind and I went for a visit. And then I actually don't know how we came up to this story about gyms, but
it was one night in the hotel, you remember? But
yes.
We almost could not sleep.
Yes, but I still don't remember how we kind of came to the idea of the gym at all.
I think it was because we all started from the fact that you, Ledian, were working. I just started working by that time at Adidas. But already, I think at the second month of working for somebody else, I told you, man, we need to do something ourselves. And that night in Munich, we brainstormed, I think, about opportunities. And I think we also investigated what we had in common. And it was for sure gym. For who doesn't know, we lived together back then in Copenhagen, and we were hitting the gym together. So for sure it was a passion we had in common, and we said, why don't we bring this kind of international gym experience we had back then into a country that maybe is didn't experience this yet. And that was.
And by the way, sorry, just to put things in order. Also, maybe you should do an introduction to yourself, Matteo, just for the listeners. Anything that you would like to say?
Well, I'm Matteo, originally from Italy. I lived abroad for the last 8 years, 3 different countries in Copenhagen, as said, with Ledian and Arlind when I did my studies. Then I went to Germany 1 year to work for Adidas, because I would say that sport is one of my biggest passions. Then I spent the last 5 years in Amsterdam, and finally I made it back home in my original hometown in Italy. And I'm very happy to be part of this team. So.
Can we also take Onuche for a round, and then we can continue?
Yeah, let's do an introduction for Onuche as well.
Thank you. This is Onuche Audu, and for me, it's been an interesting journey. And I think just as the previous speaker says, I've worked, I'm originally from Nigeria, but I live in Canada at the moment. And I was opportune to have worked and live in different parts of the world. And one of those places was in Denmark, where my path crossed with that of Ledian, Arlind, and as well as Matteo. So that's how we crossed paths, and the journey has since then been moving on. That's where we are.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And I would like to say for Onuche, it was a little bit different because I mean, also obviously we have different. We were in different stages in our lives. I was still a young professional. Onuche was a very experienced expert within his field, and he had family and so on. So I don't even know. Like, I was talking about this idea of the gym, and he got very excited about it, and he, decided to help us out.
I moved to Denmark in 2014, and as of 2010, 2011, I had picked up cycling, body bike from Canada. So when I got to Denmark, and I happens to be in the same team with Ledian, and Ledian was actually a coach for body bike in the gym. And so that sort of cemented our friendship. Apart from the fact that we're in the same team, we also have something else in terms of body bike. And he was the coach for Mask Oil, because Mask Oil has a gym. I think that's where our discussion started progressing, our love of body bike, and then the idea of gym, based on the discussion that Ledian already had with Matteo and Arlind.
Do you still remember the classes, Onuche? How you felt
I do.
During and after?
I think so.
Good. Funny enough, body bike is one of the most popular classes now at the Elite Sporting Club as well, and it's the same bikes actually that we have brought there from Denmark. So that's a nice story as well.
So you could say that you were the Danish version for Onuche in a way.
Yes.
In elite terms. Yes.
That's right. And I remember sometimes when Ledian was supposed to take the class and he was busy, he encouraged me to take the class on his behalf. And I remember that day very well. And that was my first time of actually taking the body bike class on behalf of Ledian. So yeah, it's been an interesting and enjoyable journey for me.
That part I had forgotten, Onuche, but thanks for bringing it in our attention. Yes, that is actually true. And I gave you the program and you executed it and you told me everything went fine. Yeah, I remember that. Cool. What about you, Arlind? How was this idea for Elite Sporting Club for you?
No, I actually remember the story about Munich and talking, but I do remember that before that Ledian and I had spent, I think, several nights just like the one we spent in Munich. I think like the night we spent in Munich talking was like the pinnacle of everything we had discussed for many, many days. And I was doing my bachelor's at the time for international business and politics. And I was reading a lot of business. I was doing a lot of numbers. And I always was fascinated by actually kind of putting everything into practice. So I had a lot of knowledge. I just didn't have any playground basically to play with that. And part of my studies was also to find profitable opportunities for expansion in existing markets. So I saw that more of like a challenge for me to finally like make use of all the money I had been spending in the education system and actually come up with something that works. So I remember that we actually had multiple ideas. It wasn't, so the gym was one of them, but we also had other ideas about what to bring in Albania and how to make something new. And as Matteo said, like bring something international, bring something new as something that we know that works and the Albanian customer can embrace quickly. And at the time, Ledian was doing a lot of traveling. I was doing somewhat of, you could say, somewhat of kind of introducing myself to the European standards of what I had already learned in the Albanian setting. So I was also kind of eager to learn more. And then Ledian was kind of feeding me with that information. So so we had several ideas. And then I think when we went to Munich, and we were talking to Matteo, I think we just hit home where we talked about the gym and he said, you know, out of everything that we thought we could do, the gym is the right thing to do. It is our passion. It is something that if it goes well, if it goes wrong, then we'll still be 24/7 working on it, doing our best, because it still is part of our passion, and we were going to do it anyway. So then Matteo brought some very good ideas. Ledian was just following his thoughts, and I was trying to supplement where I could. And I think it just kind of created the entrepreneurial spark in all of us, and just it convinced us that there was something there, right? And we just needed to explore it.
So I don't remember right now, guys. Do you remember when we had a meeting in Tirana when we kind of officially signed some papers and we looked at the gym and so on? Because if we look back, I took like a short career break in 2017, and I went back to Albania to set things up for a few months. But I
remember.
I don't think you came on that year, right? You came next year.
April 2017. Because I just started in Amsterdam in March, and I remember I took a flight from there.
17 or 18? Because in 17.
18. Because
18.
we opened the gym in the 17 in October. Mm-hmm. So we came together there to take a look at the buildings. I remember. And it was April 2017.
Well, you were there as well, Onuche, right? At the same time.
Yes, but I wasn't. Yes, indeed, I was there in the April 2017 that Matteo was talking about. But I wasn't sure. I think Matteo had already visited Tirana before that trip, right?
It could be.
I think that was my first time.
Okay, if that was your first time, then that was
no, for sure. Was my first time for sure.
All right, so I was there, and in fact, just as you guys were talking, I was thinking about it. For me, Elite Sporting Club is a combination of things for me. It's friendship, it's adventure and discovery, and it's discovering new culture. I never would have imagined myself being in Tirana, and I've been in Tirana 2 times now. So there's no way I would have actually sat down and said, I'm planning a trip there. Yeah. But the fact that my path crossed with Ledian and the other friendship I have made with Ledian and Matteo and Arlind, and even Ledian's family. So all of that put together, I feel I know Albania. If I see somebody from Albania now, I have a story to tell. So for me, it's a combination of things, and it's been an adventurous journey for me.
So going back to Matteo, how did you feel like the first time when you came and you saw that like everything was there? And you know, I think it was quite an exciting trip. Besides discovering Tirana and Albania, also the fact that the things we've been talking about were there like physically, and there were clients, and I think you also participated in some classes, as far as I remember. I'm not sure, but how was your experience?
Yeah, for sure. You get the feeling that words became reality, and I think the first time we opened those doors of a gym and went through those stairs, I think it was really a special emotion. Like it was finally all our ideas becoming reality. And I remember I went out of a gym afterwards, and I called my father. I told him, look, it looks really, really good. I think it has a lot of potential. It's here, is ready. So it's just, now is just depending from our capabilities now. But I remember it was a special emotion, for sure.
And for you, Onuche?
I agree completely with Matteo. I think seeing the effort of planning and having meetings and all the logistics and the planning that went into opening the shop, that went into it with everybody on board, especially Ledian and Arlind, to open it up, to see the actual tenancy clients coming in and out, and being able to participate in some of the class was a big fulfillment. And it's also a learning, because we learned so many things in the process and ever since. So I agree with Matteo completely.
And I can also add one thing that I was talking before about the international experience we wanted to bring in. I remember a comment we had together, and we said, look, if you don't know outside those doors, there is Tirana, you could think that we are in another European big city. It can be Paris, can be London, because the standards you have here in this club is the standard we get in Amsterdam. We know Copenhagen, we know Milan. So I was very happy of this, but if you don't know where you are, you get the standards we want to give our customers. And I think that was the biggest achievement we had.
And actually, even almost after 5 years now, I think that is still true. The concept that we have, it's still quite far away from the offering that other gyms have, with maybe very few exceptions, at least in the capital city, in Albania. But it's definitely very, the concept is so unique, and it's, I mean, it goes in line with what the progress in the fitness industry has been in Europe. But in the Balkan region, where Albania is part of, it's still not very much introduced, and we are still on the front run of this, even after 5 years. So that is also, it tells about the vision.
I can add to that I think when we were creating the idea for the gym, we actually discussed with Ledian that the biggest advantage of the gym will be its concept and how forward-looking it is, but it will also be its greatest weakness, because people will have a hard time embracing it because it's so forward-looking. And we kind of anticipated that we would also need to, our biggest challenge would be to actually educate people that there's a new concept of fitness that you can embrace. You could say outside of the traditional equipment movements that they already had in the Albanian standard in the fitness industry. And then we also had to kind of create a trust with the customer that this new way that we're introducing actually works. So I think, like, beyond creating the concept of the class and all that, our biggest challenges was to actually think critically about how we can communicate exactly that level of trust and convince the Albanian customer, which is not a very easy customer, to make that leap and try something new and see if it sticks. And then for me, I remember when the gym opened, that I was studying, as I said at the time, I just started my bachelor degree, and I couldn't visit the gym until I think it was 5-6 months in. No, it's actually December 2017 that I went to Albania for the New Year's vacation. And I remember the time, so the clients were coming in, and I also took a lot of time to actually build the data modeling parts so that we could actually assess the data, the trends, the classes, all of the data that goes behind it, which I'm sure no other gym actually takes the time to do it. And I just remember, like, looking into the numbers and the sheets, and like thinking about it just like another project that I just fully immersed myself into. And then when I actually went there in December and I saw the whole thing, I completely agree with both of you. I felt a sense of fulfillment, in the sense that everything that I had been thinking about until October, and then doing, actually physically doing for the gym, actually then materialized physically in December for me. And it was a feeling that I always recall from time to time. It makes me feel so empowered that at the age that I was, at the age of 18, I could have the unique pleasure of being in the same seat with you guys, and then helping you out with this project and hopefully driving it home. And I think well, it's for the clients to say, but I think we've done a good job. And I think the clients' remarks and their praise, I think, says it all. Yeah.
And let me add here another side of the experience. For me, it was a little bit more rough and on the ground. It started since finding the place. It was definitely the most difficult thing to do. And I still think that we were lucky to find the place, even though, of course, the place, the location at least is perfect, even though the place itself, as you know, it could be in more perfect conditions in terms of the floor. We're still the half ground floor. But anyways, a lot of gyms in the world are actually on that setting, so that's okay in that regards. But finding the place was definitely the most difficult part of it. We had 2 other places, and the negotiation with the owners was a completely different experience and story for me at least, where my father was involved a bit as well, and a few real estate agents. But anyways, with this place, it went quite well. Actually, this place had been a gym before us, but it was closed many years ago, and nothing else happened in that place. So when we first came in, there was a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of cleaning up infrastructure, but also the biggest problem was the electricity system, which was too old. And I remember me and one electrician, we worked a couple of days, quite so many hours, trying to check all the wires and making sure they were working. And also, I thought about it. It's quite interesting because that kind of experience you also don't normally get in your life. You don't like go in and check all the wires of a place. But I think it was quite interesting to go through the process. And then, everything else, building things and working with or supervising the workers and ordering the equipment and going to the warehouse to check the equipment and ordering transportation to equipment, going through customs and finding people to carry equipment, like a lot of these things that I don't think everyone kind of experiences if they have kind of, a profession, and just like me, that I'm an engineer by background. But very interesting stuff to do. And one story is, for example, coordinating the time that the truck that will pick up all the equipment comes in and when it can be loaded. That was quite a stressful one for me because, for example, I wanted to be there to make sure everything was in order, but the driver, for example, because we have had several loads, but in one of the loads, he came in at like 6 in the morning and the guys were just ready to load everything in, and just at 9 a.m. I just found out that everything was gone already. So it turned out that we had a problem with customs after that, but all of these details. And then, the big truck would not come in the city. So we had to find another truck that would go, we had to find smaller trucks that would go in, take one part of the stuff. So we had to find like an electric fork and people that could carry them from the big truck to the small truck. And then with the small truck, go in the city and then unload them, find other people to carry them all the way down to the gym. And all of these things were done while some of us were traveling and not there. And my father had to kind of do the majority of the work, but all of this coordination work and that experience is also another side of this story, which is, I think it's stressful when you do it, but you kind of, once you are done with it, you kind of feel that, okay, you were involved in this project and you kind of got the most out of it.
But if I think about these 5 years, I think, Ledian, you can tell us 1,000 more of these stories.
Yeah.
I think this is the main message, I think, of this podcast. Is like, if you have to run a business, every second you have to work on something.
It's
you have
not
to become involved in, you just mentioned electricity, but
everything.
Taxes, customs. So
it's a 24/7 type of thing. You cannot say like, I need a break from this. Like, you have to be there always to take care of things.
I think that's one thing we can't underestimate, in the sense that many of us have brilliant idea of starting a business, but only few of those actually come to the limelight to actually put it together because of the challenges, different challenges that you have to walk through, the coordination interface. And indeed, it was tested, and I think Ledian and Selimaj Senior, as well as Arlind, actually play a critical role in putting all those interfaces together. I remember very well when we were talking about custom, we didn't know that this is what custom wants and all of that back and forth. So it's a challenge, and sometimes it's easy to underestimate what we've actually achieved as a group, and particularly those who are spearheading and leading it.
And I think, especially at the initial stages, one of the founders at least has to be there. It cannot be delegated. It's something you cannot delegate. The founder needs to be there. At least one of them. In our case, we are very lucky because, of course, we live in different countries, as said, but Ledian really and Arlind many times were there, so we are really lucky with that. I cannot imagine starting the business without them.
Yeah.
So
I
think this is a crucial part of it. If you want to run a business, take in consideration you need to be there.
Yeah, I think like starting from January 2018, like all the vacation that I've done, I've actually done them all back home, and all my vacation time was spent in the gym, like trying to build stuff, create new things, bring in more customers, train the customers, and add more value to the gym. So I think, yeah, that the gym took all of the space that you leave out of the year that you need to relax and kind of spend on things that you want to spend recreationally and so on. I think the gym not took it from me, but I think I would gladly give it back, because I think it shaped me drastically to the person I am today. I learned, as Ledian said, like, yeah, you sit down with a suit, like a fancy tie, and like build numbers and then show charts, but if you're not there, experience nor solve the problems that I've actually encountered. And some of them are problems that wouldn't exist. Of course, in a Western society, we've also had to come up like with solutions to very creative problems that are caused by the Albanian environment in which the gym was built on. That's, for example, infrastructure issues, problem with the water, problem with the floods, problem with the clients that are very unique and need to be handled in a very safe and controlled manner, and civilized, of course. And I think that was just yeah, that's something I will take with me, and it's worth more than everything I would have ever paid for any course or any education. Yeah,
and I think this is the highlight of this whole thing. I think we were driven by passion and by all these other things, experience and this spirit of exploring things like that. But I think the most, and I hope that we all agree on this, the most important thing and the biggest takeaway of this is the feeling and the experience that we got out of this. Me and Arlind as well, we have actually spent days, many days, we cannot count now, where we have been at the gym from morning to night, 14 to 16 hours, and we have not felt it. And that's the beauty of this, right? You are there doing all of this stuff, but you are not tired.
Even me and Onuche, those times we were there, you remember? We were having an appointment with the bank at 2:30. Then the lawyer, like middle of the night, but I was even asking myself, what are the working hours here in Albania?
The marketing guy.
Yeah, the marketing guy, 11 p.m. But we were working seriously like from 9. Probably last meeting was at midnight. Seriously.
Yeah.
First thing interesting is that people was there for us. So this is very something. Second thing is exactly this, that we didn't feel at all to be tired. And I think meeting after meeting, we were feeling actually closer to the goal. So we are getting even more motivated, I think.
And I still today, I was there just a couple of weeks ago and filling in for one of the instructors. And I spent quite many hours doing classes and personal training. But I didn't feel tired after them. I was doing that all day, and like at 10 p.m. when everything was over, I was like, wow, I feel okay. I can go again.
I think that's a reflection. It's a reflection of the fact that if you have something where you're passionate about and you have business imposed on that is seamless. You enjoy what you're doing, and then you don't feel it. I think that speaks to how the whole business started in the first place.
Exactly. And nobody can do that for you. So if you have a passion, maybe you want to do something else, also is not going to work. So if you have a passion, you also need to be responsible for what you're doing. And you know that you can be the one getting the business closer to the goal. So is just on your shoulders. It is in the bad and the good. So.
Yeah,
that's
and
right.
of course, due to our situations, I mean, we have been traveling back and forth. Arlind and I, we have also spent longer periods of time over there, but we still are not located there. So it has been, of course, one of the challenges of everything being physically there. But I think we have mitigated that, of course, with the help of my father, who is there on ground.
Yeah.
With the help of the staff, who generally speaking is responsible, and also us being there quite often from time to time. With the exception, of course, of COVID, which I think we should probably touch upon, because it was definitely a very hard period for us, and it was horrible when it comes to the stress that we had, and also to how to actually solve the issues when we were not there and we could not travel, and the clients were not attending the gym due to the restrictions and all of these things. And I think that's also, I mean, when you create a business plan, also when we created ours, there is always this unexpected things that could happen. But having a pandemic right in the middle of creating your business, I think that's probably not one in a lifetime, but that's one in multiple generation things that you get. But we did get it.
It's not just the pandemic. If I think about these 5 years, we had a earthquake in Albania.
The biggest earthquake
That's
in
right.
the last 40 years.
That's
Yes,
right.
exactly.
We had 2 years of COVID. When, as Arlind said, we had a state that, of course, unfortunately, was not like a European state providing a support for businesses, but the costs were just on our shoulders. 10 months closed, and we had to pay for it. This is something we could not take into consideration before. Now we have the electricity and gas price that went up. So all these things, of course, must be considered when you want to start a business. Of course, not this bad, but let's say some negative factors might be there. So the right business plan should consider it. I think we were very unlucky in a way, but we are very good also still to be here with a running well business. So
I think that also speaks. I think that also speaks to the commitment of the founders, in the sense that there's no way we could have planned for something like a pandemic. No matter how robust your business plan is, you probably won't be thinking you'll be out of business for 2 years like the pandemic we have. But we stick to it, and those who are leading it were looking at creative ways of managing the challenges that we have to work through and find solutions to. But the passion is there, the commitment is there, and I think that's probably what took us through those difficult periods as well.
Yeah, but it was horrible and very stressing. But personally, for me, it was extremely hard. I still remember those, because we need to say we had 2 gyms, and we also had a few problems with the owner of the second gym, because he was not really open to reducing rent. The state was not like, I think, anywhere in Europe, probably also the rest of the world, at least the Western world. The government provided support for the business itself as well. Whereas in Albania, there was absolutely no support for the business itself. It was only support for the employees of the business, which received a salary for 3 months, the minimum salary for 3 months. But the owner of the business had no facilitation at all. And they said that they will take out the rent at least for the months, which were 3 full months that we were closed. But that they did not even provide. So we had to negotiate with owners, and some owners, were open to that, some were not. So it became quite problematic, including also that I think the participation was drastic. I think it reduced by more than 60%, looking at the numbers, which I think is generally what happened overall in the world with
all
businesses.
over the world.
So the effects were catastrophic in terms of our business plan, and that kind of continued for quite a lot of time, because we had summer, we reopened right during summer, and then the waves of COVID keep coming in, and 2021 was also not a great year, because the infection rates were high. We had the different variants. Vaccination was still ongoing. People were afraid, and so on and so forth. But not hopefully, but thankfully, this year, 2022, I think we can say that we are a little bit further away from COVID. And we did take measures. Arlind and I, we did quite a lot of online stuff, either live training or video training that we shared with our staff. We did with our clients. We did online classes as well, which actually worked. In some cases, that was quite interesting. We did free prolonging of memberships, and we created quite a lot of facilities, but of course the fear was there and people were not really in the mindset to go to the gym. So but it was, when you think about it, it's crazy, right? We had the biggest earthquake in Albania in a decade, and then we had a pandemic which lasted 2 years. Then we have this then we even had a little bit of flooding issues last year with a lot of rain coming in, and now we have the crisis of prices especially for electricity and water. So a lot of things going on. I mean, it's quite crazy when you think about it.
It is.
Yeah. So, all right, but let's. After all of this, like, what can you say is the biggest kind of beside, we mentioned that the feeling and so on, but what else is there in terms of that will be left, or what, that when you think about the gym, you think about what you get out of this experience as well? What else can we mention in this context? The learnings and the experience and all of these other things.
I think the learnings comes very strong for me. We've already touched on some of those learning as to those challenges and the fact that you have to be hands-on and be on ground. But the other thing I would like to highlight is the fact that Arlind put a lot of work in developing the interface that we actually use to book people into the gym, and most importantly, that at the back of it, we're able to do some analysis to see the performance of how the gym is going. For me, I was quite impressed with that. And it's a big takeaway that
you mean the website, right? The
website
and
the website
data.
And the data behind it that you can use to a lot of statistics, and you can use to analyze and see the performance in different way. And it has to be designed because it's a different, it's a unique proposition in terms of it's a gym. You're dealing with membership, different things. And so it has to be customized to be able to go out all those indices in your analysis. I thought that was a unique part of the business, as well as the fact that the gym itself in Albania, in the Balkan area where it is also a unique proposition. I was quite impressed, and I learned a lot from that if I'm going to run any business, this is some things that you really need to focus on, to have those dashboard to evaluate the performance of the
Maybe
entity.
you can add a bit more, Arlind, about the system and the tools and so on.
Yeah, so so one of the most critical elements of actually taking this fitness concept to the Albanian customer was to bring it digitally. So we understood that in order for us to bring this international experience, we had to bring the fundamentals of it, which is the ability of the client to actually book any class through an app or a website. So we had to bring that in. And Ledian got in touch with a company here in Denmark, and they built a website from an existing platform. I think it was called e-commerce at the time.
WordPress and WooCommerce.
Correct. And they built, I think it was like a totality of different plugins that kind of were customized for our needs and then put into a website, and they would monitor that and handle the maintenance. And then the clients would basically use it. I think we also did we actually spent some time on actually the translation of that as well, right? To make it compatible for both Albanians and also international. So what happened with the website was, as we've been saying through the podcast right now, is that you kind of make your best assessment, you create a strategy, but then once it actually goes live, you see that things don't actually turn out the way you thought they did. And website was one of those, because what happened is that when a client would book for a class, sometimes the clip would not be reduced correctly. So sometimes it would not be reduced at all. Sometimes it would be reduced by one clip correctly, and sometimes it would be reduced by two. So then we saw that some clients would actually come to the reception and complain that their clips had been stolen. So about 6 months into the business, we were being accused of stealing the clips from the clients unfairly. And of course, they had a good point, because the website was not working properly. So I think my biggest contribution to the gym, aside of training the clients, training the staff, adding to the concept, and then helping it come to the ground, is actually the website, because we actually, that's when you realize that if the website went down, then our gym would not work at all. Nobody would be able to book the classes. The instructors wouldn't know who to train. The instructor wouldn't get their wages, because we get the wages through that. And basically we would be gymless, right? So I reached out to a very good friend of mine, Gary. He is the friend who I shared my desk throughout my high school, and he's the smartest guy I know on this earth, even compared to the standards that I've been exposed to here in Denmark. And he works with IT, and he knows a lot of coding. So I I think I begged for his help. I remember spending at least a month talking to him in detail about how the gym is run, how the process of booking goes, how the instructor is paid, how the cancellation should work. And then we would have weekly calls, and then he would code the whole thing and then call me any time of the day while he was working with the gym project, because he also had a full-time job. He was doing this on the side, kind of asking me how to run this code and how to add this feature and so on. And I remember that when I was flying to Albania, we also had many meetings about the website, where we actually then saw it being designed and visualized. And one critical issue there was that we actually wanted the new website to come live on the 1st of September. Because, as you know, there's a lot of people leaving for vacation. So in the gym, it's very easy to control the entries sometime in July and August, but then September hits and then everybody comes to the gym. So we wanted to make sure that first, the clients that were already in the system were migrated to the new website. And then we wanted to make sure that as of September 1st, we could do the cutoff so that everybody would get used to the new interface, and then we could use that going forward. So I know that Gary, he took, he worked so hard to get it done, working many nights until 5 a.m. And they actually got it live, I think, a couple days late. I think we actually went live like the 4th of September. And to be honest, I think that website is what has made the gym reach an extra level that we didn't know it had, because we've never had any issues since the new launch of the website. The website has been so good and so robust, and we've only had some minimal issues with the interface, but I think it has reduce so much headaches when it comes to people not having the correct amount of clips, people wanting to pay the money now and then have their membership start a week after when their membership ends now, and it solves all those problems. And I think I'm really happy to have been a part of that solution to facilitate that. And as Onuche said, I've learned a lot about how digitalization helps, especially growing businesses, right?
And you can add just
and I have to say a big thank you to Gary, because I know he's going to listen to this podcast. So
no, thank you, Gary.
Yes, we also say thank you to him.
This is exactly the point I wanted to make, because normally we think that a business is made of three things. It's made of a product, a price and a distribution. But what I learned personally, and this is what I wanted to say, is that a business is made out of people. So we are where we are because we are having a good team. And a good team, I mean like the developer Arlind just mentioned, but our instructors that are the first touch we have with the clients. I work for multinationals, and normally we have the concept that no matter if you leave, the company will go on. It's not exactly true, because our company is based on the contact you have with people. So our company is like the people getting in contact with the customers. So those are really important for us. So this is exactly my main, I would say, learning from this, because when I was not a founder, let's say, I could not imagine this. I was imagining like, okay, somebody leaves, we can replace him, but it's not exactly
true. And that's also another learning for me, and also I know for Arlind as well, because we have met so many different young people and potential instructors. We have had actually the opportunity to talk to probably around 100 different people. And of course, we have had some turnover on the gym. 80% of the turnover is because of going abroad. So that is a good sign for us. And we have staff that has been there since the beginning of the gym. So on that term, we kind of are unique as well when it comes to there. But dealing with staff is another very big learning for me. And we have to understand, of course, the context of the country. Albania is a country with a lot of problems, and the kind of dream and what every young person wants to do is to leave the country. And so, that gives us extra difficulty in finding motivated staff and keeping the staff. So that's a challenge on its own. So having the tools to do that, that's part of the problem. I wanted to add also in terms of the digitalization, I must say that before we opened Elite Sporting Club, I did a 2-week trip in California. I also had quite a lot of experience with looking at, because I worked myself here in Denmark with the biggest gyms here. I kind of knew a bit. I kind of knew a bit the system that they used to book and so on. So some of that knowledge we used when we designed ours, but when we designed ours, we also knew the knowledge of the gym itself that we did because we had the experience. So we kind of designed it even further. But the website itself, I think it's one of the design of it is one of the best that I've ever seen, because it kind of manages everything seamlessly we don't have check-in cards in our gym. Our gym is based on people, as Matteo said, like people know each other, people feel at home. And so we use like a check-in card because we just use the website. And then the website is such advanced so that the trainer knows by name who is coming to his class when and where, and he can see the history and he can kind of adjust the program specifically to the people that are coming at that day and things like that. So that's quite advanced. But the other part that Arlind mentioned was also the analysis part, which so that the website itself helps on the operational side, but all the data is saved. So we use all of that data and we do analytics on that data on a monthly basis using Power BI, which is one of the most advanced and used BI tools all over the world, and also in big corporations. It's a Microsoft product. We use that on our monthly meetings and our quarterly meetings and yearly reports as well with the 4 of us here. And I think that gives us tremendous insights into what's going on because the data never lies, so to speak. So that is also another side of this, which for me, I mean, I've worked with data all my professional life, but it is interesting the way that I use the data from our website and our gym in decision making, because we have to come up with decisions on how we do things. And I think that that's especially the new dashboard that Arlind has been working on. It's really good, and it's to very high standards also with what I've seen in the big corporations that I've worked on. So it's quite interesting as well.
Yeah, I can say, for example, that like even comparing our gym to the gyms that I train at, because as you know, I train in several gyms in Copenhagen, but I also travel a lot now. So I also work out in Frankfurt. I've worked out in Koblenz. I've worked out in Berlin, in so many different places. And I can say that I have yet to find a gym that has that allows for the flexibility, the fluidity, and the agility of Elite Sporting Club. And what I mean by that is that if you want to compile a functional workout, then if you go to at least the gyms that I've gone into, it's very hard to execute on that workout unless you have to pull all the equipment from one room to another room, and it takes you about 20 minutes to assemble all the equipment. But the way the gym has been set up is that you literally have to walk 5 steps from the cardio to the gymnastics section or to the weightlifting section, and how that is merged with the commercial classes that we have is also, I think, something even more impressive. So you have the open gym area, which is very flexible, but you also have the people training in the class with the instructor in very close distance, but yet not intermingling with each other. And on top of all this, I have yet to see a gym with the space that our gym has that is so well structured and prepared. So not only have we managed to create such a good and comfortable space, but we've also managed it to do in a very, very small space compared to the gyms that I've been in. I mean, I've been in gyms that have like a whole building, and they still don't provide you with the flexibility that Elite Sporting Club does, because you literally have to go, like if you want to do weights, then you have to go to floor number 2, then you have to run to floor number 5 to do the cardio, then you have to run to floor number 4 to do the gymnastics. And I think it's a forward-looking setup that even the gyms here in Denmark have difficulties with. And I think just one more point in terms of the website, like we train at Butcher's Lab, which is one of the oldest CrossFit gyms in Copenhagen, and is very well known because it has a lot of strong people, and they are very strong, to be honest. But the owners of the gym, I think they haven't really paid their respects the way we have to our gym, because, for example, let's compare how we implemented the new web service and compare how they implement the new web service. So for Elite Sporting Club, as I said, we had a date, 1st of September. They worked for like 5 months. They got it done. For Butcher's Lab, they've changed 4 apps in a period of 1 year, where they have asked the client, okay, so download this app, create an account, then book. And then
By the way, if
changed
they did that in Albania, we wouldn't have the gym anymore.
The clients would have gone, because they would have either called us crazy or disrespectful. And to be honest, they're not far from right. But they had us change the app 4 times. And then once you finally got the final app, the issue was that the app was not connected to the door system, so you would get locked out of the gym. So like I would tell Ledian, like if we did this in our own gym, of course we are in Copenhagen, people here are more tolerant, they are more understanding, and of course they pay more and they don't care, they care less. But in Albania, like I think I know for sure that people would be like, hey, I'm paying my 30-40 euros, you're keeping me out of the gym, though your app is not working, this is basically theft. I think just comparing those 2 gyms in terms of both infrastructure and logistics is just absurd, that one is placed in Tirana and the other in Copenhagen. This is just me, maybe. I don't know.
I just wanted to add, in terms of the architecture and the setup of the gym, it's based, of course, on our experience, but I would like to also thank Ira here, our architect, because she has spent quite a lot of time, to be honest, on modeling. When we first got the gym, it didn't have any floor plan, so we had to build it from ground up. So Ira helped on that process of drawing it in and creating a 3D model of it and placing the equipment to see how it looks like, and creating the flow of people, which is something that I didn't mention. which when you are at the gym, you don't really think about, but it affects you if it's not designed very well. And so all the upgrades we have done to the gym, it's also consulted with her and her expertise on like the architecture and the inner sides of so that aspect of it is also, I think, important. It worked for us. I would say another learning that I've had, and probably you guys on the discussions we've had, is also the marketing side. I think we have, and here we have to say thank you also to Gert, who is our designer. So I think also there, right, like how we market ourselves, I think it has been also a learning process. And Matteo, since he's the expert on that field, he contributed on that as well, on conceptualizing our marketing. But I think our marketing, so we are kind of a niche gym, right? We don't do like huge marketing, but our social media marketing has shown to work quite well with the stuff that we do. I don't know if you have any kind of takeaways on that.
I think the concept of a club is the main note of our communication. So as you said, Ledian, at the beginning, we know very well all the names of our clients, and we don't need a member pass to get in. And this is exactly the concept of our communication. Make you feel like you're part of a group, not like make you feel we are targeting you with random advertising. It's like our marketing is really something, I would say, really useful for our clients, because it's really affecting their interest in activities, in new things, because we know them. So I would say it's a marketing extremely depending and helpful for our clientele. So this is the main takeaway, I would say. We started with a marketing that was more standard, more random, and we arrived exactly to the concept of a club where we know exactly what our clients and, let me say, teammates, because a club is done of teammates, want to see and might think is useful. So not just the random communication.
Yep.
I also have to add that, and I think, yeah, this is the most important for me, at least. The biggest takeaway I've had from the gym is actually my girlfriend, as you know. Kaliana, we were friends back then, and when Ledian told me, like, hey, do you know a person who can actually take on the reception, she was the first that came to mind. And she's the nicest person I know, and she's so good at communicating, and she's also very, very patient, which was key in our relationship and still is.
Yeah.
But I think, like, seeing her so committed to the gym, and seeing her so just wanting to make it work, and sometimes I would be very hard on her, and Ledian would do the same, because we had spent so much time working on the concept, working on the building, working on the equipment.
I've never been hard on any staff member.
Well, she would disagree, but anyway, I think
that's according to Ledian.
Yeah, exactly.
But the beginnings have been extremely hard for all of us.
Exactly.
We did not know exactly how to do things, so we were also a bit frustrated.
But the thing was that we had spent so much time on working on the whole overarching issues that we had actually missed out that unless there is a good reception to host the clients, to talk them through the concept, to help them build that trust that I talked about in the beginning, and help them make that first payment and their first step towards a new concept, that is actually where the whole thing begins. It's not about the website, it's not about the instructor, it's not about the building, it's about the person who tells you the story. And she did such an amazing job that I actually had to make her mine in a way. So I think I'm very grateful to the gym, because it introduced me to my partner, and it's been a blessing all around.
I think I'd like to add something to that. I'm happy that you were able to see what you could have lost if we didn't have the gym. And Kellyanne was very, very crucial at the starting stage of the gym. She has that people skills. She's very calm, and very good with being patient and explaining things to you. And I remember when she was leaving to go and study in Germany, before we knew what Arlind was all about, we were not sure if Arlind was really serious then. We were all worried that we were going to lose her when she was going to study in Germany. And that was because she was so crucial at that starting stage that we needed somebody like that. So yeah, thank you, Kellyanne. We pray that you continue to be successful in whatever you do. And we really appreciate your help in helping us to manage that interface that was not in our radar when we were starting up.
You can say we still have a connection because Alva, her sister, is doing the HIIT class at our gym and also some personal training. So we still have an on-the-ground representation.
As well. Very good.
So, but yeah, dealing with staff in general, as I said, is also it's also an experience because of the situation, because we're not close there. We know from other gyms that the owner stands there and kind of shouts and tells every second what people should be doing, and that's a bit frustrating as a workplace. Whereas our staff is kind of free. We don't tell them to do anything. They know what needs to be done, and it's done without us specifying it. So in that terms, we are also kind of innovative.
Yeah, I think in the beginning it has been extra important to get the proper staff, especially in terms of communicating. I think in the beginning the instructors were also part of the tour of the gym and also explaining the concept, right? Because they also participated in kickstarting the gym, and it was very important to have that first good impact, because once you build that stable clientele, then also the new people coming in, they will see some life in the gym. They will see that some people have actually embraced this concept, and it's actually something that works, right? So yeah, just to reiterate that in any business, but particularly the business in which the person is the main is the main product, it just becomes so much more important that you know how to communicate your thoughts. Yeah, that's the main takeaway.
I agree.
And we will soon conclude here, but one last question I want to maybe get from you guys, Matteo and Onuche, is how does it feel to be part of the team, but also somehow not be exactly on, or have the possibility to be that often on ground to actually see the stuff? We have our monthly meetings, our monthly reports and our quarterly meetings and yearly meetings as well. But do you feel like that is fulfilling enough from you, or under different circumstances you would have liked to been present even more, at least to visit the place? Or what would have been your ideal scenario, so to speak?
For me, at least, if you are, I cannot consider myself like a business owner, more almost an investor in this case, because as you said, Ledian, I think last time we went there was 2.5 years ago. So as I was saying at the beginning, you need to be present in your business. Is not the case for me and not the case for Onuche. So of course, the ideal scenario, even if you're an investor, I mean, at the end of the day, is at your own risk. So you want to see the real thing, how it's performing, and also take your suggestions to get the most out of it. So I think the ideal scenario would be at least in a realistic scenario where the business still is in another country, at least twice a year on a regular basis, to be there, to have a proper meeting with all the data, talk with the staff, at least. So I think we are talking about two different figures, like the investor and the business owner. The business owner, as I was saying at the beginning, needs to be there. He needs to be the face of the business. He needs to be like 24/7 on it, managing all the issues and all the problems and all the challenges and also the opportunities, because of being there, you can also see, of course, the opportunities. If you're investors, I think twice a year at least, you need to have a proper, spend a couple of days at the gym, review data, talk with people, with all the kinds of people, customers, staff, other investors, at least. So I would say, yeah, what we are doing is not enough. Definitely, we should be there more present. We all have another job, so of course it's not the ideal scenario. But thank God we have Ledian and Arlind. All our trust is with them. They're doing a great job, and so I think we are very lucky, me and Onuche, because we have great partners. Really amazing guys, and so we trust them 100%.
I think. Sorry, go ahead, Onuche.
Yeah, I agree completely with everything Matteo has said, and indeed, the level of time put into it by Ledian, Arlind, indeed, is what took us to where we are, and of course, is working to some extent. But of course, just as Matteo said, we would love to be able to come around more than we've done in the last 2.5 years. But yes, indeed, if you really talk about those who are spearheading the game, it's been Ledian, Arlind, and when I talk about both of you, I also talk about your partners or your friends, and as well as Selimaj Senior as well, who has been constant and on ground helping us to smoothen things out. So I agree with everything Matteo has just said.
Perfect. I think we will soon arrange something, and hopefully, Onuche, for you it will be possible because you have to come a long way. But if you happen to be in Europe, I think we should definitely arrange.
Definitely.
We have to celebrate half a decade of Elite Sporting Club, right? It's coming up in October, so
that's actually a very interesting
occasion. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So let's talk more about that. But I think I don't know if you have any last remarks, but I think this will we will have to conclude soon due to time constraints. But I think it has been a really interesting talk. Very much appreciate you guys' support and the nice words, and also from being part of this project. And yeah, hopefully the future will be better without so much unexpected events. And we'll have the opportunity to meet and yeah, get the most out of our undertaking.
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely.
Very good. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.